What's up, whores? Just kidding. Please don't fire me. I don't like the lighting right now. I just look very red. Turn that up a little bit. Okay. My computer screen just looks like a lot pinker than it normally does. I just put new contacts in. Maybe that's why I'm like a little sussed out right now. So, we have a little bit of a dilemma today. Hi, Coffee Creamer 232. It does not feel like 7 p.m. to me today. It's partially because I didn't go to work today, so I've just been dicking around all day, but I was like, at like 6, I was like, oh my god, I have to stream in like an hour. But let me tell you about our slight dilemma today. So, I'm really excited for this topic, but I don't know. Like, let me just tell you what I'm doing right now. So, for like literally months, I've been like, I need to get more ahead in planning. Like, I am always finishing my stream deck Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. And so for months, I've been like, I want to be further ahead. Like, I want to have it planned out further ahead so that, like, if something happens, if I get busy, like, and I get behind, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to be ahead. And now I finally did. Like, this morning, I finished next week's slide deck. But now I'm like all excited about next week's topic. And I feel like I made this so long ago, even though I finished this less than a week ago. I feel like I made it so long ago that like now I'm so excited about Fire Festival. I debated switching them. But like, so I'm kind of thinking like maybe me being months ahead isn't a good thing. And like part of what's fun about this is like immersing myself in that topic for a week. Like that makes it really fun to me. So I'm like, maybe next time I'm not going to do it this way, which in some ways I kind of feel relieved. But I don't know. So I am really excited for this topic. Like when I was making this deck, I was so fucking excited, and I'm glad that I realized it was 6 because I went through it and I edited some things and I got like re-excited, but nothing matches it like when it's all you've been thinking about for days, and then I get to come on here and be like, guess what the fuck I've been thinking about for days. So I think I'm just gonna continue being a last minute girly, and I just one week, this is my logic, is that if I ever get behind and I don't have a deck or like whatever, I'll just go live and hang out with you guys. Which like I've been doing this for a year and that's never happened. Like I always come through. Even like the worst stream I've ever done was Watergate. I didn't finish the deck until 5 minutes before. I made it in an hour and a half, and it was awful. But it wasn't even that bad. So like worst case scenario, that happens again. So yeah, I think I'm not going to work ahead anymore, and I'm just going to continue being a last minute girly. A chicken parking lot, thank you for resubscribing. No, we're still going to do Fire Festival this week. Maybe aim to finish it the day before if you don't want to wait till the last minute. Yeah. Do a history teacher that's also a coach move and play a video. So I was thinking about something. I don't know if this is possible. I'll try it. Maybe we can try. What are you guys doing tomorrow? If you're not busy tomorrow, I'm not working tomorrow either. I'm not working as much these days. I cut my hours. But anyway, I digress. If you guys want, what we can do is test this out, because what I think would be fun is to watch reality TV like this. Like I'll share my screen. I have Peacock, so I get, and Discovery Plus. Like I have everything to watch reality TV. So I'm like, maybe it'll be fun if I just share my screen and we like watch an old episode of Sister Wives together. But I'm also thinking it might not let me do that because of copyright. So I didn't want to promise it to you all if it doesn't work. Oh, Below Deck is a good one. So maybe we can try that tomorrow. I don't know what time tomorrow. I have to go to a Pride event party tomorrow, so it'll probably be earlier in the day. But anyway, we have a lot of slides. We have 72. So let's get into it. We could do it in a Discord server. Oh, we can. A Get-Go parking lot. Thank you. Copyright would be my main concern. Vanderpump. Yes. I've officially completed, the TikTok to Twitch pipeline. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to go live on TikTok. I'm glad I realized this before I started. Oh, my desk is a mess. Look, I switched. So I'm trying to lose weight because of our culture around women's bodies, I guess. And so I switched to the tiny cans of Dr. Pepper because I was drinking the bottle, and like that's a lot. So I was like, I'll just do the tiny cans, and it's just like a little treat, you know what I mean? Like it's like less. And I've been doing that, but I drink one and it like literally doesn't scratch the itch at all. And so I've just been drinking them like 3 at a time. So that kind of defeats the purpose. Diet Dr. Pepper is 0 points on Weight Watchers. I can't drink diet soda because aspartame and stevia both give, well, aspartame fucks me up. Like aspartame, I literally feel like I'm going to die. I don't know how to describe it. It like literally fucks me up so bad. Like my stomach hurts, my head hurts, my mental health gets really weird. Like I get, like my brain gets very like, you hate being alive from fucking aspartame, which makes me think when I was a kid, we were only allowed to drink diet soda. I never had regular soda until I became an adult, and we only ever had diet. So the aspartame does it to me, and the stevia does it to me. Stevia just gives me really bad headaches. Stevia doesn't do like all the stomach stuff and the mental health stuff. Stevia, it just gives me headaches. The bestie, you might be allergic to it. I think I am. I think I am allergic to aspartame. So when people say, oh, just use the diet version, I just really can't. Like, I'd rather have nothing, you know? Okay. Okay. My camera keeps doing this, and it's pissing me off so bad. Sorry, I just screamed at you, but we were recording the podcast yesterday for literally like 5 hours, and that happened so many goddamn times, and now you can't see Mike. This is so goddamn annoying. I need to go the other way so you can see Mike. Okay. R.I.P. my ears. I'm so sorry. Do you guys like my hair like this? I kind of love it, but I kind of hate it. Miss Lot, Lady Walmart. So, this is my dilemma. So I usually use Miss Redacted, but I kind of want to change it to Miss Parking Lot. And then I also, like, I'm a Walmart parking lot, but I'm like, as I try and, like, grow and I'm coming out with merch soon and stuff like that, is Walmart going to fucking sue me? So I'm like, maybe I should change from a Walmart parking lot to just Miss Parking Lot. But I don't want to change my username. A lot of people call me Mother. We're talking about Elizabeth Holmes today. I'm going to tell you one last quick story, and then we will talk about Elizabeth Holmes. So, speaking of me coming out with merch, this guy that I work with, who's like not my boss, but has like a manager title, and we work together, so he like kind of tells me what to do. He is like a marketing manager. He used to run a company that, like, if you wanted to create merch for an event or something like that, he would design it and order it and, like, handle all of it for you. So I set up a meeting with him, and I was like, hey, can you look at my merch and just, like, help me with this? Because I just, like, want your advice. And he's, like, very, like, work brother to me. And so he was like, yeah, sure. And so we're sitting there looking at it. Where was I going with this? Oh, and so he told me, like, you need to start posting it on social media. So I started posting it on Instagram, and then he was looking at the comments, and he was like, why are they calling you Mother? Because he started looking at my social media, which he hadn't done before, and he was like, why are these people calling you Mother? Do you have kids? Oh, I did tell you this story. He is very traumatized from that. He is. He's afraid now. But anyway, today we're talking about Miss Elizabeth Holmes. Let's get into it. Elizabeth Holmes is my girl boss. I keep burping. All right, so who is Miss Holmes and why the fuck do we care about this? Actually, she's married now, so MRS. Sorry, girl. So Elizabeth Holmes was born in 1984. She is an American entrepreneur and CEO. She was CEO from 2003 to 2018 of the medical diagnostic company Theranos. In 2014, she was dubbed the world's youngest self-made woman billionaire. But in June 2014, and then in June 2016, her net worth had fallen dramatically and related to Theranos' business practices and her stake in the company. Holmes was forced to relinquish control of Theranos in 2018, and 4 years later, she was convicted of defrauding investors. So that is why we're talking about her. That's kind of like the Spark Notes version of what we're talking about today. So we're going to start with her birth. I like to be very thorough. So, the ADHD gets you like that. Also, the joke can be that you're redacting Walmart and don't have to change your name. Good point. I'm so obsessed with her. I don't know why I've been following her for years. Her and Anna Delvey would make a great duo. Okay, so Elizabeth Holmes was born in Washington, D.C. in 1984. Her father's name is Christian Rasmus Holmes IV. Can I just say, I think the fourth, be original. I think naming your child after yourself is a little bit bananas. He was a vice president at Enron. If you don't know about Enron, it is another famous scandal of like fraud and lies. So he was vice president at Enron. Do we want to do an Enron stream? I don't really know what happened. That later went bankrupt after an accounting fraud scandal, and her mother, Noelle Ann Nadaust, was a congressional committee staffer. Her father later held executive positions in the government and agencies. Also, can you hear this, and is it annoying you? I'll play with something else. I don't want it to annoy you. Okay. Christian later held executive positions in government agencies such as USAID, the EPA, that's the environmental, a redacted parking lot is so good. I kind of like that, redacted parking lot. Had no idea she was born upper class, but not surprised. I would say she was upper middle class. Like she was upper class, but not the 1%. I think that's an important distinction. Like she was upper class and wealthy, but her family was not like controlling the world wealthy. They didn't have enough wealth for clout. They just had enough wealth for like local clout, but not international clout. They were locally wealthy, not internationally wealthy. I think that is a great barometer. Like, are you locally wealthy or internationally wealthy? Okay, so anyway. Elizabeth Holmes is partly of Danish ancestry, not that that fucking matters. One of her paternal great-great-great-grandfathers was Charles Louis Fleischmann, a Hungarian immigrant who founded Fleischmann's Yeast Company. The Holmes family was very proud of its yeast empire. I would never tell anyone that. Like, if my family was, like, famous for yeast, like, I would not be bringing that up. What? The yeast empire is crazy. And then according to family friend Joseph Hughes, which I wanted to talk about him, but there's just so much else to talk about. We're not going to get to it, but I'll talk about him a little bit. He said, I think the parents very much yearned for the days of yore when the family was one of the richest in America. And I think Elizabeth channeled that at a young age. This is so weird. These people are weird. This is from Elizabeth Holmes herself. She says, I was probably definitely not normal. I was reading Moby Dick from start to finish when I was about 9. I read a ton of books. I still have a notebook with a complete design for a time machine that I must have made when I was like 7. The wonderful thing about the way I was raised is that no one ever told me I couldn't do those things. The New Yorker piece reported that the family moved several times when she was growing up, which meant there was little opportunity to develop lasting friendships. Holmes described herself as a happy loner collecting insects and fishing with her father. I don't know anyone who's happy and all they do is collect insects and fish with their father, but let me not be an asshole. Remember Matilda? Moby what? This is trash. This is filth. She's such a not like other girls. She really is not like other girls. She sounds autistic. I'm not laughing at autism. Autism isn't funny. But I'm laughing at Elizabeth Holmes because this is funny. I also read Moby Dick at 9. You're not special. My toxic trait is whenever anyone is bragging in a way that's like that, like either about themselves or their child, I always just lie and say like something more dramatic. Like if someone's like, I was reading Moby Dick at 10, I'm like, oh my god, when I was 9, that was my favorite book. Like, I always do that, and it's a lie. Or when someone is like, yeah, my son speaks Mandarin, he's only 5, I literally will be like, oh my god, when I was 4, I used to speak Mandarin all the time. And like, sometimes it's so obviously a lie, but I just think it's really funny. I read Moby Dick at that age, and I'm autistic, so y'all might be onto something. Okay. Ooh, I have chips in my shirt. I was eating chips, and like, they're in my shirt. You know when you get chips in your shirt? Totally doing that now. And I love doing it, like, the more blatant of a lie it is, the funnier it is to do. Like, I work with real estate agents, and one of them was like, oh, I sold $100 million worth of real estate last year. And I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. I sold $101 million. And they were like, because, like, I'm not licensed, and obviously I didn't. But I just thought it was funny to say. You don't know how many royal families I'm related to. Okay. So her old neighbor said that in pictures I have with our family, she is withdrawn. She's always pulled to the side and was not naturally emotive as a child. So my biggest issue in prepping for this stream is that every 3 seconds I learned something about her. It made me reflect about myself. Like me and her are very similar. If you look at like our habits, our level of delusion, our love for older men, like the parallels are striking, and it was like really making me feel things about myself. Um, was not naturally emotive as a child. He also claims that Holmes' mother encouraged her to be more like him. This is the neighbor who was an inventor and former CIA agent. They were jealous of our family, he told Forbes. I was a physician who had many patents and made money off them and knew Arabic. Noel programmed Elizabeth to be like me, invent and learn a language. I'm a psychiatrist and family practitioner and would tell a father and mother not to treat their child this way. So I think, just to give you guys context, this guy is very, very biased, because I debated including this, but I just like didn't have the space for it. So I'm just going to tell you it real quick right now. He had a medical company where he would patent things and then like go after people for the patents, and like it was kind of a schemy, slimy business, but it wasn't illegal. He was really offended that she did not like come to him for more help, because they were like neighbors or whatever. Like he knew her pretty well for a couple of years. He was really offended that she didn't come to him and be like, help me start this company. And so what he did is he patented something and then like went after her. Like he patented like at home medical testing, whatever, and then went after her company and was like, I own this patent, you have to buy me off, basically. And he was like, oh, we're just joking around, this is me teaching you about business, this is what business is like, Elizabeth. But then she ended up suing him, and it like turned into a whole weird thing, and it's like very much a footnote in this entire scheme of things, but I wanted to tell you it because it was like kind of weird. For those of you on TikTok, come to Twitch to see everything. We're talking about Elizabeth Holmes. So, as a child, Elizabeth Holmes was guarded and private. A school friend tells ABC. I think this is a little more legit because this is just a former classmate. Like, she didn't have anything to do with money or anything, so I trust her account a little more, and it's very similar. So Megan Long, a former classmate of Holmes at St. John's School, said one memory clearly stood out about Holmes from so many years ago. It was when Holmes was a distance runner on the school track team. She consistently came in last in races she ran, but she was always determined to finish and did not care what others thought. I love that. She's like, I don't care that I'm last every time. Like, I'm going to finish the race. Also, thank you to those of you on Twitch saying that you completed the TikTok to Twitch pipeline and that it's way better on Twitch. I've been saying this. It's a better experience for the girlies and everybody. Bailey Jaden, thank you for subscribing. Okay, so additionally, Long described Holmes as disconnected from the other girls at school. Once Holmes graduated high school and left for Stanford, that was the last people who knew of her in Texas heard from her. Long said no one knew what she was up to until she appeared on the cover of Forbes magazine in 2014. You should caption your TikToks. They're supposed to be auto going on there, but that app is like literally ruining my life. Like everything just doesn't fucking work the way it's supposed to on there, but they're supposed to automatically show up. So I don't know why they're not, because they show up on mine. Oh, do you mean the live? I don't know how to do captions on live. Is that a thing? I don't see a way to do that. Use headphones to hear how you sound to viewers. I would rather die, but thank you so much for that option, TikTok. So Holmes graduated from high school at St. John's School in Houston. During high school, she was interested in computer programming, and says she started her first business selling C++ compilers to Chinese universities. I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't fucking know what that means. I was gonna look it up, but then I didn't feel like it. Her parents had arranged Mandarin Chinese home tutoring, and partway through high school, she began attending Stanford's University Summer Mandarin program. This is very common. I did this. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret right now. This is a rich person's secret. Upper middle class to wealthy people send their teenagers to university programs for the summer. I went to one, my sister went to one. They're very expensive. Me and my sister each went to one because they were so expensive. Mine was $6,000. I think hers was $4,000, but she's also older than me. Oh, yes, you will get paid if you link Amazon Prime. If you go to your settings, you can connect your Amazon Prime account and then subscribe to me for free. And then I get money and you don't have to pay money, and it's great. But anyway, let me talk about this rich people hack. So, rich people send their kids to these college camps every single summer. You like live in the dorms and you take little classes. There are also scholarships if you're low income. That's true. Not for all of them, but a lot of them have scholarships. They're 10K now. Yeah. You live in the dorms, you take classes, but the reason that rich people do this is because if you do a good job, the professors will write you letters of recommendation to get into that university. So if you get a letter of recommendation from an existing professor, that like gives you so much fucking clout on your application. So that's why my parents sent me. It didn't work. I did get the letter of rec, but I still didn't get in, and then I ended up going to Florida State. So literally like they paid more in tuition for that one summer program than they did like my entire time at Florida State, but I digress. My sister, it did work. She got the letter of rec and then she got in. I just texted my fiance about this, but he didn't get into the school. Yeah, very mixed results. It was USC. It was. No regrets though. Had a fun summer. Oh my God, so many subscriptions coming in. Kick Ashley subscribed with Prime. Vicky 1323 subscribed with Prime. Sid XX Marie subscribed with Prime. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Love, love, love. Were you not on Survivor? No, I don't think so. I don't recall doing that. But apparently I look like someone that was on Big Brother, Nicole something. Is the video frozen for anyone else? I hope not, because I'm plugged into Ethernet right now, so there's really nothing I can do. Oh, good point. Just a heads up, you have to resubscribe every month with Prime. It does not automatically renew. Oh, you do kind of look like Nicole. Yes, Nicole Franzel. You're so silly today. It's because I didn't go to work. She always wore big black glasses. That's what I think it is. I don't wear glasses when I stream because the light reflects in them and then you can't see my face, but I usually wear that kind of glasses. Okay, so back to Elizabeth Holmes and her Mandarin program. So because she's a rich kid, she goes to these college programs. That's what rich kids do. That's where they get sent. In 2002, she began attending Stanford, where she studied chemical engineering and worked as a student researcher and laboratory assistant in the School of Engineering. A car parking lot. Thanks for subscribing. Here is some pics of Elizabeth Holmes as a child. Mad at Twitch, I didn't get a notification. Emily Wren, don't even worry because we're just now getting into the gossip and the juicy stuff. So you actually had perfect timing. She's a little awkward, but aren't we all? She's kind of eating in this picture. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. She kind of ate right there. For those of you on TikTok, if you want to see the pictures, you have to come to Twitch. It's free. I'm so sorry to make you download an app, but here we are. Like, she's kind of eating in the pic. I like it. I think this is a good picture. Here's my fucking 2 sips of Dr. Pepper. I'll have a drink later. The buffet is empty. She ate so hard. We are mature enough to recognize a sleigh. Like, I should recreate this pic and make it my LinkedIn picture. And then here's a pic of her. I think this is at her high school graduation, but I'm not 100% sure. No free feet. She should have known. It was a different time. Okay? So, around this time, like around the time she was leaving for college in 2002, she met Sonny Balwani. We're going to talk about him, and then we're going to talk about him a lot more later. I found a couple different stories about how they met. They had a romantic relationship that was secret for a very long time, so it was hard for me to find very accurate information on them. But when they met, it was a friendship, and then later it turned into a romantic relationship. So, this is what Yahoo Sports said. I don't know why the fuck Yahoo Sports cares about this. But Elizabeth and Sonny met 20 years ago in 2002. This is a couple years old. They first crossed paths in Beijing, China, while on a language immersion trip with Stanford University, according to Sonny's divorce filings per Pop Sugar, our greatest journalistic integrity institution, Pop Sugar. At the time, Elizabeth was an 18-year-old senior in high school, and Sonny was a 37-year-old student pursuing his MBA at UC Berkeley, according to Refinery 29. What Bustle says is that Holmes and Balwani met in 2002, the same year that his wife filed for divorce. They also said that they met in that Beijing program on the Stanford Mandarin program. They said that she was 19 and he was 37. Not that it really makes that much of a difference, but still, both are not good. But After the trip, they kept in contact through email, though their relationship began platonically. At some point, it became romantic. And then what ChatGTP said, or GPT, GTP, I don't know, GPT, GTP, GPT, GTP, GPT, GTP. They sound the same. Anyway, what the robot said was, no, there is no known information or credible report suggesting that Elizabeth Holmes and Sonny Balwani met in a language immersion program. Their first encounter was believed to have taken place at a tech event in 2002. While they did work closely together at Theranos, there is no evidence to suggest the initial meeting occurred in that program. But everyone else said they did meet there. So I think the robots were wrong. So I just wanted to tell you my research process. If my 17-year-old was hanging out with a 37-year-old, I watched the Hulu miniseries, if that's what you're referring to. If you're going to lie about her age, at least give her a mildly developed frontal lobe. Exactly. That's still the same ages. No, because it said 18 and 37 and 19 and 37, so a little bit different. So who is he? Balwani was a guy, a man doing man things. In 1999, he had joined a software development startup, CommerceBid, as president, and then the following year, it was acquired by another company for $225 million, and he was able to walk away with $40 million. So he is a rich guy doing rich guy things. At the time he met Holmes, he was married to Japanese artist Kiko Fumoto, but she filed for divorce in 2002, and at first him and Holmes were just friends. So, Sonny had been a presence in Elizabeth's life since the summer before she went to college. They met in Beijing in her third year attending Stanford's Mandarin program. So she had been going to this Mandarin program all throughout high school. Elizabeth had struggled to make friends that summer and gotten bullied by some of the students on the trip. Sonny, the lone adult among a group of college kids, stepped in to come to her aid. That's how Elizabeth's mother, Noelle, describes the genesis of their relationship. Why was he there? Like, I get, oh, I'm 37, let me go get my MBA because I worked for this company and now I like have money so I don't have to work. So I'll just go to school and study abroad. I get that, but like if you have $40 million, why are you dorming with the teenage students and befriending them? And why did they let you in? If it's like a program that's directed at high school students, the lone adult, like the biggest of red flags. Like go to the Swiss Alps or no, I even get like, oh, I'm 37, I have money, let me go get an MBA and I'm gonna learn how to speak Chinese and like do my career. Yeah, get a fucking apartment and then go to class and then go hang out with other adults when you're not in class. Like, not to shade the elderly going to get education. What did his wife say when he was like, I'm gonna go spend a month with kids? Well, she was divorcing him. Geriatric Millennial, thank you for subscribing for 5 months. It's giving jail, where he finally landed for the wrong thing. He can learn around other adults. Did this program allow the man to be in the dorms with children? The elderly? Don't you have anything else to do? I don't know if he lived in the dorms, but that's what it showed in the, like, Hulu series about it, was him, like, living there. But regardless of if he lived there or not, he was there. And he was, like, hanging out with the teens. You know what I mean? Dude, I was 22 with 19-year-old roommates and wanted to die, and he's, like, doing that. It's very sad and weird. I don't like it. This is my rule around age gap relationships. I think once everybody has a frontal lobe, do whatever the fuck you want. If you are 27 and 50, everybody has a frontal lobe, so that's not my fucking business. I wouldn't do it, but it's not my business. But this is literally an 18-year-old girl, and this is, like, a grown-ass man. How do you do, fellow kids? Oh my god, I should have used that meme in this. Now I'm mad. Oh my god, we're only on slide 12, and we've been here for 30 minutes. So, after the end of her freshman year, she worked in a laboratory at the Genome Institute in Singapore to test the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. So, like, Elizabeth Holmes was on coronavirus, like, before any of us were in, like, 2002, or 3. So through the collection of blood samples with syringes, That's what she was doing for funsies in this time in her life, I guess. She filed her first patent application on a wearable drug delivery patch in 2003. And I just want to say, filing a patent application does not mean that you have a functioning product. It just means like you're working on it and it's your idea and it's protected. So it doesn't mean it's like real. It just means it's like real to you. And then, trigger warning here, Holmes reported that she was raped at Stanford in 2003. Really hate that for her, but she is really representing the American women's college experience. So that very much sucks. But sad. Sad, sad. The only reason I even brought this up is because she dropped out not super long afterwards. And I'm not going to say that she dropped out because of this, because I'm not going to speak for her. But it is very, very common to have, when someone experienced sexual assault, to make decisions like dropping out or quitting a job, especially if it happened, like their assault happened at that place, because they don't want to be there anymore. So that's the only reason I brought it up, is I felt like because it happened so close to the time of her dropping out, it was like kind of relevant. I can't imagine having to stay on campus when your safety is violated like that. And I don't know the details of it, but in the show, and the show is mostly accurate. They didn't show what happened, but like, because I hate when they do that. It's so unnecessary. They showed like the context that it was at a party, which is very, very common. I kind of feel bad for her, but I know what she did was absolutely crazy. You can have empathy for her, I think. It's fine. Okay, so in 2003, Holmes founded the company Real Time Cures in Palo Alto, California to democratize healthcare. She described her fear of needles as a motivation and sought to perform blood tests using only small amounts of blood. Me and her are very similar. Fun fact, I am Elizabeth Holmes' target audience because I've never had blood drawn because I refuse it every time. I am absolutely petrified of needles. So terrified of needles. It's debilitating. Like, it's really a problem in my life. And the only time I've ever had a needle go in my arm like that is when I had to get an IV for painkillers when I got my wisdom teeth out. And even that, I absolutely hated. I was like, yeah, I'll be awake. Awake is fine, I think. But anyway, she started because she hated needles, and then she also changed the name to Theranos in 2003. So it really did not have that other name for very long. When Holmes pitched the idea to reap vast amounts of data from a few droplets of blood derived from the tip of a finger, like a finger prick, which, again, hate needles, I can do a finger prick. Her medicine professor, Phyllis Gardner, responded, "I don't think your idea is going to work," explaining that it was impossible to do what Holmes was claiming could be done. And then several other medical professors told Holmes the exact same thing, because they were basically saying, like, you need more blood than a few drops to run these kind of tests. I'm not a doctor. I'm not really going to get into like the science because I don't fucking understand it. I did all of my science classes as like homeschool, so I don't know shit. But apparently you need more than a little bit to run these tests, which I guess makes sense. What she wanted to accomplish is literally impossible. However, Holmes did not relent. Who dare to call me when I'm so busy? It's my grandma. Where was I? She did not relent, and she succeeded in getting her advisor and the dean of the School of Engineering, Channing Robertson, to back her idea. So she did not get a medical person to back her idea, but she did get an engineering person to back her idea. And then in 2004, she dropped out of Stanford School of Engineering and used her tuition money as seed funding for a consumer healthcare technology company. And then Sanook Roy, a PhD student that she was assisting in Professor Channing Robertson's lab, joined her at Theranos in 2004 as its first employee, and then Robertson joined the company's board as an advisor. So she kind of like got her OG posse at Stanford, even though she dropped out. But what I'm wondering is, why is the dean of engineering backing a medical company created by a dropout? Like, red flag that there's no medical doctors involved at this point in time, and no like bio people. Like, I'm not a scientist, I'm very stupid, but like I think it's weird that there's no doctors or like biologists. It's just engineering and business people, which is odd. So around the time that she dropped out of Stanford to work on her tech startup, her relationship with Sonny also became romantic. This was in 2004, so about 2 years after they met. So we're guessing she's 20, 21, sometime around there. Well, it's not exactly clear when her relationship became romantic. It appeared to be around the time she dropped out, also around the same time he enrolled in Stanford to study computer science, but he also ended up dropping out in 2008. Typical men. And then in 2005, they move into their home together in Palo Alto, and their relationship was still a secret at this point. And according to his deposition from 2017, they lived together for the majority of their relationship. Fried Pickles, thanks for subscribing with Prime. A secret, but why? We'll talk more later about that. So, fundraising. In order to raise initial funding, because keep in mind, they don't have the device. She's like filed a patent for it and come up with the idea, but it is not a functioning product in front of us. It's not a functioning device. So when you start a medical like company, you don't make money for a while. So you need heavy investments to fund very, very extensive research and development. It's not like when you're starting like a food truck where like the day the business opens, you have customers and you're making money. Like this business is not going to sell anything for years and years and years and years. So they need very heavy funding to be able to like live. That's why most medical research is done by like a handful of companies. But anyway, she leveraged several family connections to get funds for the company. The first two investors were Tim Draper, the father of her childhood friend and former neighbor, and Victor Palmieri, one of her father's longtime friends. And by the end of 2004, she had raised nearly $6 million. One of the early investors is Don Lucas, a renowned venture capitalist who sees potential in Holmes and her own ambitious plan for Theranos. 2005, the fucking camera moved again. Is that right? There we go. I can't see Mike. 2005, Theranos continued to raise capital, leveraging Holmes' connection and the promise of the disruptive blood testing technology. During this time, Holmes meets Larry Ellison, who is the founder of Oracle. If you don't know what Oracle is a tech. I'm just going to Google it and show you because I don't know how to describe it. Okay, so Oracle offers a comprehensive and fully integrated stack of cloud application and platform services. So it's basically a software company. So let's say I am starting, this is like a really basic example, but let's say I am starting on like, fuck, I got distracted from the chat on TikTok. Let's say, what was my fucking, I'm starting a restaurant. Let's say I'm starting a restaurant. I might hire Oracle to create a computer system for me to take orders. That is never something that would happen because there's a bunch of systems that already exist and I would just buy one and it would be cheaper. But Oracle, that's what they do. When businesses are created, they create custom software for the business to run. That's all Oracle does. Very, very successful company. So she meets the founder of Oracle, and Ellison becomes intrigued by Theranos and expresses interest in working with Holmes and the company. So she's starting to continue to pick up steam. Again, we do not have a functioning product at this point in time, which is fine. That's normal for a company at this stage. The initial design for the Theranos device in 2005 was a cartridge and reader system that was dependent on microfluidics and biochemistry. The prototype was dubbed as Theranos 1.0, and the company had plans to license the technology out to pharmaceutical firms to help them catch side effects during drug trials. 2006. Theranos develops and patents its proprietary blood testing technology, which claims to Incredible. I love my life. Absolutely incredible. I need to put new tape on this, but I'm running out of tape, so everything is awesome. And I love life, and everything is good. Yay. That hurt, Mom. Someone call an ambulance. And now it's crooked as fuck. This is my last piece of tape. You'll see this is my last piece of tape. That's somewhat better, but it's very unstable, I can tell. Okay. There we go. You're still a little bit crooked, but you know, whatever. Can we get workers' comp? You need a life alert. Ah! So much is happening. Oh my god. Your camera being held up by literal strips of tape makes so much sense. Okay. Moving on. Oh my god, it's already been 4 minutes. Time is going by so fast today. Getting back into it. Can my phone leave me the book alone? I'm putting this on Do Not Disturb. Literally, everyone fuck off. Don't call me. Don't text me. Nobody fucking talk to me. Mr. Parking Lot needs to be on SOS. Crowdsource for a better camera holder. So I'm working on so much stuff right now. This is like, we're pausing so I can tell you what's going on. This is my problem, is that every time I try and do something, it opens a Pandora's box of other stuff that needs to be done. So you guys were like, oh, you should crowdsource and we combine stuff. And I was like, that's a great idea. I look into it. Collecting money, you have to have like legalities behind it. And I don't want to do it as like a person because then I'd have to pay taxes on it. So then I was like, oh, I need to create an LLC. And then I'm trying to create an LLC. And it's like, oh, when you create an LLC, the business address goes online. I don't want people to have my home address online. So like every time I try and do something, I find like 900 other things that need to be done. And then nothing ends up getting done because everything is so complicated. So that's what I'm going through right now. But back to Elizabeth Holmes and her functioning business. We need an Amazon wish list. But then that's the thing is then, so I don't want a new camera. I want the MacBook or the Mac desktop because the camera in it is really good. So like I want people to contribute because I don't think anyone's going to drop $2,000, you know? So I'm going to put like $5, $10, whatever. Okay. So anyway, 2006, Theranos develops and patents its proprietary blood testing technology, which claims to perform a wide variety of tests with just a few drops of blood. The involvement of Don Lucas and Larry Ellison as prominent investors adds to credibility and furthers the attention to Theranos. So this is a big theme. Someone's suggesting P.O. Box for that address situation. You're not allowed to do that. It has to be a physical address. You see what I mean? Like everything becomes complicated and terrible. So we're putting that topic to bed. And we're not going to talk about it anymore, and I shouldn't have brought it up because it's really frustrating, and I don't want to think or talk about it. So a big theme with with Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos is that she gets clout because of her connection to other people. Like really her only ability is to like get people to believe in her, and then everyone else is like, oh, well, if so-and-so is involved, then she has to be legit. So she's just good at convincing key people that she's legit, seems to be her main talent. Theranos ended up faking a demo for Novartis in 2006. Novartis is a huge pharmaceutical company. They went to Switzerland to present their device to potentially partner with Novartis because Novartis was like, let's see it. They depicted this on the show The Dropout. If you're into this, I highly recommend watching The Dropout. It was great. It's on Hulu. The device malfunctioned. Apparently they had been trying to get it to work and it worked like 1 or 2 times in the lab. And they were like, let's go to fucking Switzerland. Let's do this thing. And they think that either like it getting jostled on the plane or them doing it not in a lab and being exposed to the air, like they're not sure why, but something went wrong and the machine stopped working once they arrived in Switzerland, and they stayed up all night trying to fix it. It's a really good scene in the Dropout show because they're literally like all pricking their fingers and like it's just such a fucking shit show, and I think it really like captures Theranos well. When it came time to do the demo the next morning, it still was not fixed, but they had recorded a test result from California, and then they presented it like it was a real-time test result. So what was happening is they like changed the computer code. I don't really know how this works, but they put the thing in the machine, and instead of it popping up with an error message, they basically just replayed an old test. So it popped up with like a positive or negative message so that it looked like it was performing a test in real time, but in reality, you just shoved something in there and then it was like a screen recording of an old test, basically. So like a very, very blatant lie. Because some people will try and say like, oh, she thought that it worked. She tried her best. Like they blatantly lied at so many different stops, and this is one of them. Um, In November 2006, Theranos' chief financial officer was fired after he questioned the reliability of the technology and the honesty of the company. And then in 2007, after 3 years of crowdfunding, Theranos is now worth $197 million. $197 million. And the thing doesn't work. They don't have a functioning machine. And the company is worth $197 million. And then in August 2007, Holmes used the premature Theranos 1.0 in a patient study with terminal cancer patients in Nashville. She also said that it would sue 3 former employees for stealing intellectual property. So her strategy appears to just be like, keep moving forward, keep going, and sue anyone that says anything bad about you. And then Theranos developed a new prototype in 2007 named the Edison. The device was a modification of a glue dispensing robot from a New Jersey company, Fiznar. By then, Holmes had poached some of Apple's designers and put them in charge of architecting the look and feel of the Edison. So basically, her original machine wasn't working. So they were like, okay, we're going to make a new machine and we'll call it the Edison. But the new machine was like completely a different concept from the old one. And the new one was really similar to existing machines and like kind of not that unique and like should not have worked. Like it would have needed more blood to work the way it was working. I want to look up a picture of it now that I'm realizing we didn't have one in here. For sale. Oh, she's kind of a sleigh. So that's what it looks like. Nice. Okay. Anyway, I thought she stole the Edison. That too, kind of. It's kind of a mixed bag. Like she basically just like she hired a designer to redesign something that already existed. It needed more blood. It's kind of a chilling sentence. You should look into Dr. Death Christopher Deutsch. He's worse than her and killed people. Ugh. Okay, so Holmes was an admirer of Apple founder Steve Jobs and deliberately copied his style, frequently dressing in a black turtleneck sweater just as Jobs did. Holmes said her mother dressed her in black turtlenecks when she was young and that she had worn the turtlenecks beginning at the age of 8. She also claims that she was wearing black turtlenecks upon the founding of the company, but an employee said that she copied the look in 2007, that she was not doing it as a child. During most of her public appearances, she speaks in a very deep baritone voice, although a former Theranos colleague later claimed he heard her speak in a voice stereotypical of a woman her age to welcome him when he was hired. And Gardner of Stanford also denies that Holmes has a naturally deep voice. Her family, however, has maintained that her deep voice is authentic. And then in a 2023 New York Times interview, she spoke in her natural, higher-pitched voice, confirming that the low voice was a little bit of a fake. So here is a clip of her from 2009. This is like a little bit ahead of what we're talking about, but this is like the oldest clip I could find of her, so I just wanted to show you kind of her vibes. She's speaking at Stanford.
The question was, what was the process of dropping out of Stanford when I was 19 like, and what kind of advice did I get? Interestingly, it was a fairly binary decision. I got to a point where I actually originally did not intend to drop out of Stanford, but I wasn't.
For those of you on TikTok, you have to come to Twitch to see.
All my time talking to VCs, and so then logistically, it just seemed like a waste of money because I was, taking 20 units and I wasn't showing up. So originally the concept was, well, take a leave of absence. And then it became really clear that, you know, I was at a point where another few classes in chemical
Twitch
engineering
supremacy.
was not necessary for what I wanted to do. And so, so then I just made a decision that I was going to figure out how to make it work. And
we're not going to watch the whole thing, I don't think.
And I actually left. I ended up living in the basement of a bunch of Stanford grads and started working from the basement of their house, and then finally convinced someone to give us, originally it was a bridge loan, and then, you know, went through the process of starting to build the company. The question was, as a 19-year-old, how do you go about the process of convincing people that you know what you're doing and that you can pull
It's like
it off?
she's speaking in bold font at all times.
I think the first piece is realizing that it's not necessarily about age. And people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and the Google guys and Michael Dell and
Amanda Seyfried did phenomenally. She really did.
I think it's about technology. It's about people. It's about.
Okay, so that's her vibes, just so you can kind of see the vibes. Due to the lack of functioning machines, in 2008, board members wanted to bring on a more experienced CEO. The board was basically going to vote her out, and then she freaked the fuck out and, like, cried. It was like, I just need some help. Like, you're right. Things are not going well. And then she convinced them to let her stay by offering to bring on Sonny Balwani, which we know the board does not know, but you and I know that at this point, this is her boyfriend and they've lived together for 3 years. So it's not just like some dude she's fucking, like she's lived with this man. So she said that it would help the company get closer to reaching its goals, but she basically was like, oh, I want to bring in my friend as COO and he's going to bring over $20 million. It ended up not being $20 million because then later when she was like, Sonny, will you join my company and give me $20 million? He was like, I'll give you $13 million. And she was like, okay, fine. So Sonny Balwani joins Theranos in September of 2009 and lent the financially insecure company $13 million. And then about 6 months later, he became president and COO. CEO, Chief Executive Officer. They're in charge of the whole company. COO, Chief Operating Officer, they're in charge of the operations of the company, which basically means like what's actually happening within the company. When the CEO also deals with like investors and the board and things like that, the COO is more like so they're kind of like the vice, if that makes sense. Although the two intended to keep their romance a secret, ex-employees interviewed in the HBO documentary The Inventor, I should watch that tonight, said the couple did not do a great job of hiding their relationship, that they showed up to work together every single day. How the fuck do you think you can hide the fact that the CEO and the COO are fucking when he drives you to work every day? It's not adding up. Theranos employees had concerns about his role at the company. Cariou, you're going to see this name a couple times. He is a journalist that did a lot of investigation on this and wrote a book about this. So when you see his name, that's because a lot of my research came from him. Cariou said that while speaking with its source, it was very clear to me that they were running this thing as a partnership and that Sonny was kind of the enforcer and Holmes' older boyfriend. So, on top of that, Sonny was not exactly qualified to work at a blood testing company. His undergraduate degree was in computer science, and he didn't have a background in biology or medicine. Elizabeth put Sonny in charge of the office's daily operations, where he berated many employees. A lot of my ex-employees, who for the first year was speaking to me on the background, were traumatized by what they experienced at Theranos, Cariou said. It was like a mind-warping experience, he added. And the pair continued to keep their relationship a secret. What it seems like to me is that the office employees knew that something was going on, but the board did not know. By the end of 2010, Theranos had more than $92 million of venture capital. Again, we still don't have a functioning machine. We still do not have a fully functioning machine at this point. And then by 2010, a startup boom had hit Silicon Valley. That year, Holmes and Balwani approached Walgreens with a business proposition to run health clinics because they basically realized all right, we can't work with these pharmaceutical companies because our shit doesn't work and they like test everything. Let's go the retail route. So they want to run health clinics, and they're also pursuing a partnership with Safeway. If you don't know what Safeway is, it's a grocery store. In July 2011, Holmes was introduced to former Secretary of State George Shultz. After a 2-hour meeting, he joined the Theranos board of directors, and Holmes was recognized for forming the most illustrious board in U.S. corporate history over the next 3 years. With Shultz's early involvement aiding the recruitment efforts, the 12-member Theranos board eventually included Henry Kissinger, a former Secretary of State, William Perry, a former Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, future Secretary of Defense, Gary Roughead, a retired U.S. Navy admiral, Bill Frist, a former U.S. Senator, Sam Nunn, a former senator, and former CEOs of Dick Kovacich, Wells Fargo, and Riley Betchel of Betchel. You know what I'm not seeing? Any medical doctors. That's a big, impressive list. I'm not going to look at you and tell you that that's not an impressive list. That's a lot of important fucking people. But again, you know what it's not? Doctors. Or women. I think there was one woman. Right? Riley? Is that a woman? Probably not. But very men. There were not many women involved at Theranos at the high up level. Riley, let's Google this person and see if you're right. Nope, it's a man. You're right. God damn it. Lots of subject matter experts. So the new partnerships meant that Holmes had to create a device that could perform more than just one class of blood test. The mini lab was created in 2011 and was nicknamed 4S after the iPhone model. In early 2012, Theranos took over a blood testing at a Safeway employee health clinic as a beta run. So at this point, they say they have a functioning device and they're running tests, but they're not running tests like consistently. Like this hasn't been tested by outside groups. It has not been approved by the FDA. They're doing everything internally and they're saying that it's working. And we're going to talk about the lab stuff that was going on. We'll talk about what they discovered was going on in the labs. So at this point, everyone thinks everything's functioning. Elizabeth Holmes knows that it's not, and she's kind of doing little workarounds. It's crazy how much money went into this when she couldn't prove the results. Exactly. The chief medical officer of Safeway had concerns about discrepancies in the test results. Safeway's CEO brushed it off and retired the following year. Theranos also signed a deal with Walgreens in 2012 to launch its devices in store, but they continually missed deadlines. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services did a surprise inspection, but then Balwani told regulators that the device was still under development. So they're telling this group of people, yeah, everything's working, we're running it. And then when the government comes to inspect it, they're like, no, it's still in development. So you don't need to inspect it because there's nothing to inspect. It's still in development. Lieutenant Colonel David Shoemaker raised concerns about Theranos' regulatory strategy to the FDA in 2012 after Holmes approached him about deploying the device in the military. After battling James Mattis, who was on the Theranos board, Shoemaker ultimately agreed to a more limited experiment. So her main strategy is like, if I have this board with tons and tons of important, powerful people, if I ever get in trouble, I can use their connections to get myself out of trouble. At Theranos, tension was mounting. Warning of trigger things about to come up. Ian Gibbons was he was the chief scientist at Theranos, and he was growing uncomfortable with some of the issues of the blood testing that they had. In May 2013, Elizabeth Holmes scheduled a meeting where it was expected that she was going to fire him because he was asking questions, he was talking to multiple departments, he was like, this isn't working, we're not ready, like kept trying to put the brakes on things. So she was basically going to fire him. And then the night before, he attempted to take his own life and ended up dying a week later. And then shortly after he died in September, they launched the 4S model, which is what he was saying, this is not ready, this is not ready, this is not ready. They launched the 4S model with a new website and op-ed by Elizabeth Holmes in the Wall Street Journal, despite protest from several company scientists saying the technology was not ready. So very, very sad. Rest in peace to Ian Gibbons. Really, really sad that he was like involved in this. So going back to that Walgreens relationship that she started in 2010. So remember I was saying like she hadn't met deadlines and things like that. The Wall Street Journal reported that Walgreens was so eager to cement the relationship that it lent Theranos money and acquired warrants to buy Theranos stock. And this is the important part, skipped its usual due diligence when evaluating a pharmacy partner. So normally when like Walgreens is gonna have a pharmacy partner, like the little arm machine things, they test them, they have independent people test them. It's like a big process. They didn't do that with Elizabeth Holmes. I don't know what fucking siren magic she was doing on these CEOs, but they just literally didn't do it. Theranos was very secretive about its technology with Walgreens as it was with everyone else. Their other strategy is whenever a partner was like, we want to investigate you, we want to see proof, we want to see how the technology works, they would just be like, well, that's company protected information. Lots of companies are trying to steal from us. You have to sign NDAs. You're not allowed to see that. That's for like internal eyes only. Like they would kind of just gaslight people into like when someone was like, can we see the actual technology? They would be like, well, it's so magical and amazing that you can't see it because you might steal it. Did I miss Fire Festival? No, we're doing that next week. Walgreens eventually opened 40 Theranos wellness centers in Arizona in its pilot program and one in Palo Alto, California, close to the Theranos headquarters. These companies sealed their relationship in November 2013 with a ribbon cutting ceremony at the opening of a Theranos wellness center in Scottsdale, which was attended by lots of important people. Mr. Stanton jumped on who is this? Mayor Greg Stanton of Phoenix jumped on the too good to check bandwagon, hailing Theranos as revolutionary lab testing program that makes a diagnosis of illness fast, inexpensive, and convenient. Partner Fund purchased 5.6 million shares of Theranos at a price of $17 per share in February 2014, which means, sorry, Theranos was valued at $9 billion, and Elizabeth Holmes had a net worth of $5 billion. Again, this is with like no FDA approval, no nothing, like just an idea and some partnerships and a board. So Theranos and Holmes began gaining media attention, gracing the cover of Fortune magazine in June 2014. She made claims about her blood test and that the company offered more than 200 tests and was ramping up to more than 1,000. Later, when she was read that claim and asked if it was true, she said, reading it now, I don't think it is. The Wall Street Journal investigative reporter John Carreyrou got a tip about Theranos in early February 2015. On February 26, he contacted a former lab director who told him that the lab was basically unethical and harmful practices were happening there. So this is when this John Carreyrou guy starts investigating. At that time, the company was operating at a limited capacity and had been generating false and unreliable tests for patients. Theranos had also been thinking of conducting HIV tests before the former lab director talked Holmes and Balwani out of it. So even though they do not have a lock on what they're doing at all, they are still continuously trying to expand. While Carreyrou was investigating the company, the business carried on as usual. In July 2015, they did get FDA approval, but it was only for one test. It was for the herpes test. That is the only blood test that the FDA approved from them, was to test for herpes via finger prick, basically. By this point, scientists were starting to raise questions about the company technology. At the Theranos headquarters, the mood was very jubilant, though. Upon getting the FDA approval, they had a party with a bounce house, a beer pong, and apparently Elizabeth Holmes was dancing to You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. I would give $900 million for footage of that. Carreyrou's first article dropped that October, revealing the company's struggle to develop its blood testing technology. That day, Holmes was attending Harvard Medical School's Board of Fellows meeting as a new member. She is at a Harvard Medical School board fellow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds really important for someone that has no degrees. Holmes sat through a day of meetings and took a break to go on Mad Money to dispute the reporting. So we're not going to watch the whole Mad Money episode, but we'll watch a little bit of it. My dad used to love this show.
Lately, one of the most exciting privately held companies in Silicon Valley has come under fire. I'm talking about Theranos. That's the diagnostics company with the ultra-fast fingerprint blood testing technology that's aiming to upend the entire traditional healthcare establishment by making it easier,
The definition of falling
and
upwards.
much less uncomfortable for you to get tested for a whole range of conditions. For the last few years, Theranos has been viewed as a revolutionary company. CEO has been heralded as next Steve Jobs. The company's been valued as much as $9 billion in its most recent round of fundraising. But Theranos also has its critics, and just this morning, the Wall Street Journal ran a pretty scathing article about the company, alleging that the company's proprietary testing devices may be inaccurate, and basically accusing Theranos of deceptive practices. The journal cites a former employee who claimed that of the 240 tests offered by Theranos, only 15 are actually performed on the company's proprietary Edison diagnostic machine, vast majority of the rest being done on traditional lab equipment.
So that's one of the things we'll talk about later, is that she was saying, yeah, we're doing it all on our machines, but then they were getting the blood and then putting it into other companies' machines and doing the test on other companies' products.
The article was pretty brutal, but here on Mad Money, we know something. We know that there are two sides to every single story, which is why I think it's important that we speak to Elizabeth Holmes, the founder and CEO of Theranos, who's coming to us this afternoon from
Siemens.
Boston, where she's attending a meeting of the Board of Fellows at Harvard Medical School. Give her a chance to answer the charges raised in the article. Ms. Holmes, welcome back to Mad Money.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth, I have to tell you, in all my years, I can't recall a private company that I have to candidly many have never heard of getting this kind of attention and scrutiny. What do you think's going on here?
Well, this is what happens when you work to change things. And first they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world. And
What the fuck are you talking about?
I have to say, I personally was shocked to see that the journal would publish something like this when we had sent them over 1,000 pages of documentation demonstrating that the statements in their piece were false. But we're doing things differently, and we're working to make a difference, and that means people raise questions, and that's okay. But in this case, it was pretty disappointing.
Me
to
doing
see
the bare
that
minimum at
after
work.
every single one of the sources that we spoke with, who the journal had contacted, told us that the statements that were being attributed to them were false or misleading, and the only sources who were left were ones who wouldn't speak with us, who on their own website say that they now do business with LabCorp in their office, or in the other case.
So that was her whole thing. Anytime she faced any criticism, she was like, well, they work with Quest, they work with LabCorp, and those are like really the only two companies that do these kind of medical testing, Quest and LabCorp. If you've ever had to take a drug test, you've probably heard of them. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, though, because anyone that was criticizing her is someone with medical experience, and anyone with medical experience would have at some point crossed paths with Quest or LabCorp in their career, very inevitably. This is what happens when you try and change the world. Yes, girl, gaslight and girl, bust your way through it.
Demanded in writing that we pay them in cash up front $2,500 for an hour to talk to them about their statements to the journal.
Did the journal
those
know
things
what
weren't
you just said?
referenced.
Did the journal know everything that you just said before they wrote the article?
Of course, absolutely.
Oh, okay. It's saying
She
on
seems
pretty
robotic, yeah. So you can just kind of see her vibe, like deny, deny, deny. Later in October, she was scheduled to speak at a conference hosted by the Journal. She went on stage and defended her company, which she kept up for several weeks on TV and at various conferences. But the facts were starting to come out. In October 27, 2015, the FDA released a report from the Theranos investigation. The FDA released a partly redacted report from an ongoing investigation of Theranos equipment. Among other things, the report claimed that Theranos had used uncleared medical devices whose design was not validated under actual or simulated use conditions. And then by November, the Safeway partnership had fallen through, and the Walgreens partnership was on very, very thin ice. So now that you have some background about who Elizabeth Holmes is and whatever, let's look at her version of the story. This is from November 9th, 2015.
You founded this company 12 years ago, right? Tell them how old you were.
I was 19. I was 9 years old
Fucking
when I
Bill
wrote
Clinton.
this, and it begins, "Dear Daddy, what I want out of life is to discover something new, something that mankind didn't know was possible. I also want to study about man and his ways. Life is really interesting." I love being with you. It's my most favorite thing in the whole world.
I
Love
hate
Elizabeth.
this.
I
Those
wanted
eyes.
to do something with my life that people thought wasn't possible before. This used to be my advisor's office, and I would sit here, literally here in the hallway.
Like, girl, we don't care.
waiting,
Does it work?
For him to come back to his office to try to convince him to let me into his graduate
Clinton
research
jump
program. And I think I probably spent the equivalent of months just
I hate her
sitting
flat
on the floor
hair.
here. My family was amazing. I'll be grateful all my life. I called them and informed them that I would be leaving Stanford, and they let me take the money that they both had saved working all their lives for my brother and I.
I was gonna
to
skip
be
this,
able to go
but
to college,
it gets better.
and put it into starting the company. We used to come up with concepts of companies that
This is
we
her
would
brother.
build together.
Her brother was the director of communications.
For like 2 and 4.
Very LuLaRoe
Little
of her.
stuffed animals or Lego blocks and all this kind of stuff. He's always been my very best friend.
Because you didn't have any other
determination that
friends.
she had from such a young age around what she wanted to do and the level of focus that she set, that has stayed true for her.
A healthcare pioneer is being compared to visionaries Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Elizabeth Holmes, her mission is to allow blood testing at
Something
a
about
fraction
her
of
is just
Medicare
so
costs,
off.
and made Holmes the world's youngest female self-made billionaire.
We're living in a country in which it's illegal in many states for people to even get access to their own health information.
The lean in.
This summer, the FDA cleared one of our first finger stick tests that replaces the need for people to have big vials of blood taken from their arm. When people get access to their own health information, they can begin to see the onset of disease in time to do something about it.
If a female leader can build a company from nothing to something that impacts people's lives every single day, it's like there's nothing we can't do.
We need to create a stereotype that little girls can be the best in science and math and engineering.
The fact that this was made in 2015.
And I think it starts when you're 2, and it comes down
She
to
sent women back
Christmas
a few
time. Are you
decades.
getting the Barbie dolls or are you getting the Legos? Our dream for Theranos is that
I
every
don't
single
know if I'd
day
call her a
someone's
leader.
life is better because they can afford access to health information they couldn't afford before, and they begin to get tested in time to improve outcomes.
Elizabeth, if you wrote a book,
The way
what
she's
would you
sitting.
write on the dedication page?
I would write that it's to the people who've had to say goodbye too soon to people they love.
To the people who have had to say goodbye too soon, to the people that they love. Give her a makeover. Who is doing her makeup? Okay, so that's where we're at. Then December 2015, the Wall Street Journal posts another article about Theranos. Cario reports that Theranos has rigged tests to produce better results and also alleges company mismanagement. January 25th, 2016, the lab in Newark, California is found to be a threat to patient health. This is in the trivia game. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services pens a letter to Theranos after an inspection. The investigation took place in the fall of 2015, found that the facility did not comply with certificate requirements and performance standards and had caused immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. Theranos soon responds, claiming that the investigation had begun months ago and does not currently reflect the state of the lab. And then in April 2016, the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, started its own investigation into its company, and then into the company. And then May 2016, Sonny Balwani left the company, which left Holmes as the sole top executive. Men will always leave you in times of need. You know, I think he saw her potential and was like, let me ride this wave a while until it's bad and then I'll leave. And then in June, Walgreens ended the partnership with Theranos and closed all the wellness centers in Arizona and California. And then in July, CMS banned Holmes from the lab testing industry for 2 years, which that's tough to come back from. And then Theranos settled in 2017 with the regulatory body for $30,000, and they agreed not to own or operate a clinical lab until 2019. This does not feel like that much of a punishment to me at all. The Medicare and Medicaid people coming into the Theranos lab. So, I don't know shit about science, but what was actually going on in these labs, that was a problem. So let's talk about science for a second. Can you move the camera more towards your face, please? No, because it's distracting. So sorry. If you want to see me in frame, you have to come to Twitch. Love you, mean it, XOXO Gossip Girl. So when you go to a clinic and get your blood drawn, normally the doctor sends it off to the lab for testing, and it takes a couple of days. That's when they do the thing in your arm, and then they take the little vial of blood. Not a fun experience. Most people have had to do it. Theranos claimed it would do a finger prick and could deliver test results in hours using those Edison machines. Theranos had been collecting blood samples the traditional way and then diluting them so that they could be run on machines by other companies. So that's what we were saying, is that they were running it on the Siemens machine, which requires an entire vial of blood. They were only taking a finger prick from people, so they were diluting it with water or saline or something, I guess. That's not how that works. Like, you can't just if that worked, we would have been doing that a very long time ago. Very long time ago. We're mom's favorite. The Twitch people shading the TikTok people is my favorite. Diluting them so they could be run on machines by other companies, and they did not even store blood samples at the right temperature. Critics had begun asking for proof that Theranos technology actually works and that the test results were accurate. After all, the evidence wasn't public. The FDA had not cleared Theranos' test, and Holmes had never published her claims in peer-reviewed journals. Holmes and Theranos' PR team deflected these critics by citing intellectual property concerns and suggesting that the complaints were being blatant by rival testing companies like Quest and LabCorp, like I mentioned. So, really not good things happening in the lab. Very not good. Wrong temperatures, not storing things properly, it's a mess. The following month, Theranos finally presented at a scientific conference, though the details about the company's technology were still lacking. Theranos appeared to be pivoting towards a new sample processor called the Mini Lab. The presentation foreshadowed Theranos' pivot just a few months later when the company shut down its clinical labs, laid off about 340 employees, and went to work solely on the Mini Lab technology. Lawsuits started piling up from all sides, including Walgreens, investors, and patients in Arizona. Those cases ultimately got settled, with Theranos paying millions to refund patients who took tests in Arizona. November 2016, Walgreens sues Theranos, and Walgreens sues the blood testing startup for that breach of contract. Walgreens sought to recover $140 million that it had poured into the company, and they settled that lawsuit in August 2014. And then some of the big names on Theranos' board departed shortly after the Walgreens lawsuit, including Henry Kissinger and George Shultz. And then the company went through another round of layoffs. She just skipped peer review. Exactly. That's why, like, there were no science people on this board, because they would have been like, you need to peer review this study. Like, you can't just do medical testing without peer reviewing. Peer review, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically like, you write something or come up with an idea, and then other experts from that field look at your idea and like tell you if you're right or wrong, basically. It's very important. So the company is basically falling apart. By the end of 2017, Theranos was in need of a cash infusion, and they made a deal with Fortress Investment Group for $100 million in secured debt financing to get through 2018. The deal relied on Theranos hitting certain development milestones as it worked to get its Zika virus test approved by the FDA. Why is anyone still giving her money? Why is literally anyone giving this woman money at this point? And then in March, the SEC charged Holmes and Balwani and the company with massive fraud. For 3 days in summer 2017, both Holmes and Balwani were questioned by the SEC. Holmes said the words, "I don't know," over 600 times while she was being questioned. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I want to just show you like her vibes.
Microscope. Did it concern you that a number of times you deployed Secretary of State?
Actually, we'll start here.
With transparency.
Now had none.
I don't know specifically. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. I just don't know.
With Theranos' claims now under the microscope, did it
That's the
concern you
microscope.
that a number of tests weren't working on Theranos' devices? Her carefully crafted narrative began to unravel, like those dramatic claims she peddled to board members like George Shultz.
the former Secretary
These
of
old
State.
men are so easy to
Was
fool.
Theranos' technology deployed in emergency rooms, hospitals, and provider offices?
No.
Was a Theranos manufactured
The
device
eyes.
ever deployed in the battlefield?
No.
Was it ever deployed in a medevac helicopter?
She was challenged sentence by sentence on what she told Fortune in that star-making cover story.
Yes, Firefest is next week.
That Theranos currently offers more than 200 and is ramping up to offer more than 1,000 of the most commonly ordered blood diagnostic tests, all without the need for syringes. Was that statement correct?
Reading it now, I don't think it is.
And there was another significant detail that she had been less than forthcoming about.
Were you and Sonny Balwani ever engaged in a romantic relationship?
Yes.
When?
The eyes.
For a long period of time.
Would you say for the majority of that time were you living with Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Did you ever tell investors that you
The
were in a
eye
romantic
emojis.
relationship?
Personally, me talking to investors one-on-one, telling them my relationship, no, I didn't.
It was concealed from the board.
Okay, so you basically get the point of that. So Theranos and Holmes settled with the SEC in March 2018. As a part of the resolution, she paid a fine and could not be the director or officer of a publicly traded company for 10 years. And then facing setbacks in its Zika test development, Theranos laid off the majority of its remaining employees and appealed to investors for even more funding. The investors when Theranos called for more money. Like the way they're still trying to get investors. Then this is where it really gets interesting. June 2018, Holmes and Balwani were charged with wire fraud by the U.S. Department of Justice. Holmes, ahead of the indictment, stepped down as CEO of Theranos. By the end of that summer, it appeared that it was the end for the company itself. The Wall Street Journal reported in 2018 that the company had told its shareholders that it planned to formally shut down. And then Vanity Fair's Nick Bilton reported that in the final days of the company, Holmes got a Siberian Husky puppy named Balto, who accompanied her to work but wasn't potty trained, and made a mess of the company's offices and labs. That is the most white woman behavior I have ever seen in my life. And the fact that it was a Husky puppy, the most high maintenance dog you could have possibly gotten. And then you just bring your untrained dog to the office while your company is absolutely falling apart. Someone needs to tell this bitch no for once in her life. Bringing a dog into a lab. Oh my God. Okay, so she also got a new man. Apparently, when Sonny Balwani left the company in like 2017-ish, this is when she met this new guy, and her and Sonny broke up. I don't really know. The relationship part is hard to nail down. Where was I? So she married this guy, Billy Evans. They met at a party back in 2017 and got serious very quickly, moving into a San Francisco apartment together and secretly marrying in 2019. He comes from a very well-known, wealthy family. He went to MIT. His grandparents founded the Evans Hotel Group, which has been around since the 50s and has a bunch of resorts, and his parents run that business. So he's rich in his own right. He also inherited Evans' garage from his father, a private event space and museum containing vintage cars. So this is a rich man. I need a psyche val on Billy Evans. Yeah, like what does he see in her? Like what's going on there? They went to Burning Man together in 2018. So again, this is amid an investigation into her. They're at Burning Man. Yay. So fun. Holmes said this to the Times. She said, "There was an incredible sense of grief because I'd given my everything to it, my whole life since I'd been 18. At Burning Man, Holmes told the outlet her and her partner Billy Evans torched an effigy for the failed business. As prosecutors began building their case against her, she embarked on an RV journey for 6 months, traveling the country." This is so white. Like, this is whiter than white. Like, this is milk personified. During that time, the pair parked in shopping center lots and campgrounds while Holmes worked on her legal defense between hikes and outdoor yoga sessions. Like, what are you doing? You're gonna go to prison. Like, she said, "Even though that period was a crisis and Theranos was my life and like my child, I gave everything I had to it. Once it was gone, I also became free." You're about to be the least free you've been in your entire life. Like, can you please look at this? Like, the dog, the boyfriend. It's giving Jen Shaw going on the ski trip while the FBI wants to arrest her. She's like, gotta travel while I can. She gives me the confidence to live my best life under any circumstances. Oh my God, you guys. The hair. Elizabeth Holmes, when someone asked about Theranos after she hung up her girl boss hat, like, she really thought that we were all just gonna move on. Like, she thought that that was fine and we would all forget, I guess. September 2020, Holmes' possible defense strategy comes to light. A new court document reveals that Holmes may seek a mental disease defense in her criminal fraud trial. Later, in August 2021, unsealed documents reveal that she is likely claimed that she was the victim of a decade-long abusive relationship with Sonny Balwani. So originally she was like, I'm gonna go the insane route, and then she was like, no, I'm gonna go like abusive relationship route in my legal defense. The allegations led to the severing of their trials. So also because she said that, instead of being tried together, they separated them and did their trials separately. I'm not a lawyer. I don't really know how that works. December 2020, Holmes' criminal trial is delayed until 2021 because of coronavirus. Pretty normal. Lots of trials got delayed. That is one of Jen Shaw's trial got delayed because of COVID as well. Lots of regular people that happened to. And then March 2021, Holmes' pregnancy further delays the trial. News surfaces that she's expecting her first child, once more furthering delaying her trial. Holmes' counsel advised the government that she is due in July 2021, and she gave birth in July 2021. She got pregnant, so the court would be nicer to her, I swear. I kind of agree. So her first baby was born right before her criminal trial. So again, like the SEC, that trial got settled. This is the criminal trial where you can go to prison. Her son, William, was born, like we said, July 2021, and then her criminal trial started August 31st. ABC notes that during the pretrial hearing, the judge said there would be a quiet room for Holmes to take care of William during breaks in the trial. Other than his birth, there was virtually no info out there about William until recently readers learned that he enjoys playing in the sand and little blue truck and dumplings, and like his mom, speaks Mandarin, because of course he does. So, throughout this trial, people are testifying. In this trial, 3 different people gave testimony about the allegedly getting false medical results from Theranos devices. One woman alleged that she received a result that indicated she was having a miscarriage when her pregnancy was perfectly healthy, according to 2 blood tests she did through a different lab after getting the Theranos diagnosis. And then another woman alleged that a Theranos test misdiagnosed her as having HIV antibodies, but she took 2 tests afterwards through different labs where she tested negative both times. And then a third person alleged that in 2015, he did a blood test that gave him an inaccurate result. The test told him that his blood wasn't clotting like normal, and he stopped taking his blood thinners as a result of the false diagnosis. One of the above patients also testified that when she called Theranos to try and ask about her results, she got put on customer service on the phone, and they told her that they couldn't transfer me, and that was about it, and she could not get a doctor or scientist on the phone. This is why normally when you do test, it's through your doctor's office. So then the doctor gives you the results and can talk to you about it. That's why you don't do it usually directly at the lab company. So that's part of what came out of the trial. Another aspect, going back to her relationship with Sonny Balwani, is their text messages came out in the trial. She did testify that he had inflicted sexual and emotional abuse on her for a decade. I am not going to speculate if that's true or not. I do not want you all to speculate if that's true or not. I think it's none of our fucking business. And if it is true, that doesn't mean she didn't do wrong things. So I wanted to mention it because it came out in the trial and it is an important piece of this, but I'm not going to speculate on whether she's lying about that or anything, just because that's not something I'm in the business of doing. This is what she said in court. I'm telling you, this is what she said in court. I think really only her and him, like with so many cases, only the people involved know the actual truth of what's going on. So these are some texts that were released as part of the trial. I would rather go to prison than have these text messages released. Holmes sometimes addressed Balwani as Tiger and my king. She wrote at one point, "You are the breeze for me, my water and ocean, meant to be only together, Tiger." And he replied, "Okay, period." My boyfriend is not nearly as older of me than hers. How do you say this? My age gap with my boyfriend is not nearly as big as her age gap was. But I will grant the empathy that they literally, old men do text like this. My boyfriend's not an old man, but men over the age of 30 do text like this. Like, I really don't think that this is indicative of how he feels towards her, because older men, they only text to like communicate logistics on the way. Where are you? Like, if you read my text messages with my boyfriend, that's like the only thing that he says is like logistical information. And then, yep, the thumbs up. Yep, the thumbs up. We met on Hinge. Highly recommend Hinge. So, November 2014, Holmes texted, "My new life as of this night and forevermore. Total confidence in myself. Best business person of the year. Focus, details, excellence. Don't give what anyone thinks. Engage employees in meetings by stories and making it about them, i.e. prepare well." 10 minutes later, she followed up with no response, and he replied, "Awesome. You are listening and paying attention." This is so embarrassing. In June 2015, he texted, "We are lazy and disorganized and not focused, but also in the context of you and me." And she said, "What makes you say lazy?" A month later, he wrote, "We need to commit to each other and get out of this hell so we can live in paradise." Her response, "I commit completely." This again is in 2015, like when things were kind of starting to hit the fan a little bit. I'm not sure of the timeline of these, but here's some other texts that I found. Balwani said, "I know things are tough, but don't give up on your dreams. Keep focused, keep fighting. Play on focus, stay organized, and stay in control. One person who has a plan and executes can defeat an army." Then he said, "I know what you are thinking and going through. Control your thoughts. Don't let fear control you. Breathe in and every hour be conscious of your breath and breathe out fear." She replied and said, "I love this." In one exchange, he even suggests that Holmes meet one-on-one with self-help author and motivational speaker Tony Robbins. And he said, he doesn't do this, but we can ask. They're so weird together. So now this is kind of what I was saying about what she said about their relationship being abusive. So she testified that he inflicted sexual and emotional abuse on her. And trigger warning, this is like rough, but we're not going to talk about it for that long. In court papers, her lawyers have argued that the alleged abuse interfered with her ability to think clearly during these times. In emotional and tearful testimony, she accused ex-boyfriend Sonny Balwani, who was the company president, of a pattern of physical and psychological abuse, including forced sex. He said that he planned out her diet in order to keep her pure, and that he would chastise her when he perceived that she lacked confidence or focus. He told me that I didn't know what I was doing in business and that my convictions were wrong and that he was astonished by my mediocrity. I said I wasn't going to speculate anything about if she was lying, but that seems like he had like that. I don't disagree with him saying that. Like, that's very hurtful to hear from your boyfriend, but like, I don't think he was wrong. And Holmes said, he said that I was safe now that I had met him. Classic abuser tagline. Over time, Holmes said she realized she was being manipulated and abused by Balwani. He once told her that she needed to be more like a man if I wanted to be in business. Balwani, who is also charged with fraud, faces a January trial and has denied all of these allegations through his attorney. So, August 2021, her criminal trial begins. There are more than 80 potential jurors, and then they end up picking the jurors for the criminal trial. December 2021, jury begins deliberating her fate after 3 months of testimony. And then January 2022, she is found guilty on 4 of the 11 federal charges. She is found guilty of 1 count of conspiracy to defraud investors, as well as 3 counts of wire fraud, 3 wire fraud counts tied to specific investors. She is found not guilty on 3 additional charges concerning defrauding of patients and 1 charge of conspiracy to defraud patients. So she was not found guilty of the medical stuff, which is crazy to me. at the end of this, so basically the way it works is you do your trial where they determine if you're innocent or guilty, and then you have your sentencing later where they decide how long you're going to go. So this is where they're like, you're guilty, and she could face up to 20 years in prison plus a fine of $250,000. So then March 2022 is when that mini series comes out. It's very good. I highly recommend. And then Balwani's trial kicks off around the same time. So, where was I? Balwani is also found guilty of federal fraud, and again, also faces up to 20 years in prison. Once again, only justice for the rich investors. So, back to Miss Girlboss. Is she getting sentenced? September 2022, she asked for a new trial and said that key witnesses expressed regrets. She asked for a new trial because one of the witnesses visited her house and said that he felt guilty. It was Adam Rosendorf. He was a former Theranos lab director. I keep burping because of the Dr. Pepper. He was one of the government's main witnesses. He came to her house and asked to speak with her, but apparently he only talked to Billy Evans and didn't actually talk to Holmes, and Billy Evans is the one who recounted the exchange over email. It said his shirt was untucked, his hair was messy, his voice was slightly trembled. He said when he was called as a witness, he tried to answer the questions honestly, but that prosecutors tried to make everybody look bad, and he also said he felt like he had done something wrong. So he takes the stand again to address these concerns, and then when he was on the stand, he said that the government did not influence what he said. He said that he had shown up and expressed regret, but that what he said was true. So she is visibly pregnant again in October 2022 and wore the exact same outfit as the pregnancy from 2021, which is interesting to me. White woman when the government tries to hold them accountable. She got pregnant for the trial and is now pregnant again for the sentencing. I will totes write her in prison. Prob's better than me writing men in prison. Y'all, don't write to men in prison. Like, everybody deserves love, but men can write to other men in prison. I think they need, like, brotherhood support during this time. So here's a theory about her pregnancy being part of an image change.
Did Elizabeth Holmes get pregnant to win sympathy from the jury? Her lawyers made a point of telling the jurors during opening statements that Holmes was a new mom.
With Elizabeth Holmes, nothing is an accident. So I hate to say that about a pregnancy, but letting the jury know that she's a new mom personalizes her, softens her.
Reporter Amy Larson covered the trial for KRON 4 San Francisco.
I was amongst a lot of reporters who were wondering if Holmes would bring her baby with her into the courtroom to get additional sympathy from the jury.
She makes it seem like you can't be pregnant in prison.
Who exposed Holmes' business scam in his book Bad Blood, speculates that her pregnancy was part of an image makeover.
What better way to soften your image than to become a new mother weeks before your criminal trial? I called a bunch of people connected to the case to gauge their reaction to the news, and the overwhelming response I got was, this isn't a coincidence. It's a calculated move to try to garner sympathy from the jury.
Her trial was delayed until 7 weeks after Holmes gave birth to a son, William, in July. The baby's father is
Lots
Billy
of poor
Evans,
black moms
heir
go to
a
jail.
hotel
Exactly.
chain fortune. But Holmes did not get the sympathy she apparently hoped for. The jury convicted her of 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy.
I don't know that it backfired for her, but I think what the
Is there proof of the babies being real? Yes. So the request for a new trial is denied because that guy got on the stand and was like, yeah, I came to her house and like told her I regretted it, but that doesn't mean I was lying. Like, all that stuff is still true. So she is getting ready to be sentenced. And then Friday, November 18th, 2022, she is sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. I was going to read this, but it's already 8:40. But this is basically just from the U.S. Department of Justice website, and it's basically just their accounting of what happened, and it's just her sentence largely reflects the massive, like, it's just them talking about the sentence. No fine was assessed, but again, she did get a 135-month prison term, and she is ordered to surrender April 27th, 2023. Here's more from that, just about like the trial and kind of stuff that we already talked about. So one part that I find interesting that I feel really bad for is the 800 people that lost their jobs. And keep in mind, like, if you worked in the Theranos lab, it's going to be really hard to find a new job. No one's going to want to hire you after that, babe. Like, no one's going to want to hire you. The part that I don't really care about is that $700 million worth of investment money was lost. So, two important whistleblowers were Erica Chung and Tyler Schultz. Erica Chung was homeschooled for most of her life, and then she went to UC Berkeley and then got a dual degree in linguistics and molecular and cell biology. She was a fresh graduate when she got a lab assistant job at Theranos. It did not take long for her to discover the numerous problems that basically within a month she was like, this is not okay, this is not how testing is supposed to be done. It has been nearly a decade since she worked with Holmes, and she has built a life for herself in Hong Kong, and I found this really inspirational. In 2019, she co-founded a group called Ethics and Entrepreneurship, which she describes having risen from the ashes of Theranos scandal and is driving an expanded and improved approach to entrepreneurship. The organization aims to develop resources and training for future tech leaders to recognize and consider ethical problems. So I don't really know what that means, but good for her. I am very proud of her. Tyler Schultz, the other whistleblower, is the grandson of George Shultz, who was the former Secretary of State that was on the board. George Shultz had asked Holmes to give Tyler a job, and then he joined as an intern. He worked very closely with Erica Chung. Together, they discovered Theranos had been removing outliers from its data and therefore not producing accurate results and running blood samples in a secret lab using commercial machines, not the Theranos Edison machines that it told investors and patients they were using. So he resigned and became one of the company's biggest whistleblowers at only 22. He used an alias and contacted New York state regulators about the failures of the blood testing device. He also contacted John Carreyrou of the Wall Street Journal and became a key source in Carreyrou's article from 2015. His negative perception of Theranos led to tensions between him and his grandfather. His grandfather actually took Elizabeth Holmes' side when all of this went down. Imagine your grandfather not taking your own side. That's terrible. And then after the Theranos scandal, Schultz returned to Stanford to continue working in the lab and then graduated, and then he founded his own biotech company. He said that when Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty in January 2022, he celebrated with his family, but apparently his grandfather never publicly apologized to him for basically like abandoning him and not taking his side in this. But on his deathbed, he said that he admired him for doing the right thing and that he was wrong and he should have listened to him. So if your grandpa won't apologize to you in public, at least he did it on his deathbed, I guess. So as Holmes is awaiting to go to prison, she is just living her little wholesome suburban mom life. Apparently her reporting date got pushed back by like 2 weeks, so she was out on Mother's Day at her $9 million beachfront home as her jail sentence was delayed. So she has a different look. She's there. You can see there's the kids. They're real. So she ended up reporting to prison on May 30th, so only 2 weeks ago. She reported to a federal prison in Texas to begin her 11-year, 3-month sentence. She surrendered to FPC Bryan. This is where Jennifer Shaw is. So Miss Elizabeth Holmes and Miss Jen Shaw are in prison together, which I find very funny. She pulled up in a Ford Expedition that appeared to be driven by her mother, and her father was also inside the car. After some shuffling around out of views of the camera, she entered the facility wearing jeans, glasses, a sweater, and carrying some papers. Here is a pic of her entering the facility. This is the day that she reported. So let's look at this facility a little bit. There are 655 inmates. They are all required to work in the cafeteria or manufacturing facility. They make $1.15 an hour. Miss Holmes may take a test to assess her strengths in areas such as business, clerical, numerical, logic, mechanical, and social. Inmates can enroll in a Lean Six Sigma training program to learn about efficiency. And the prison handbook says, we try and help our ladies obtain work in the factory, which focuses on their strength, so they may develop additional marketable skills. So she didn't go to college, so at least she's getting job training. Like, I am never one to praise the prison system, but at least she's getting experience. Because if you think about it, she's just a college dropout. So, then on June 7th, Holmes is pictured with her husband and parents on prison visiting day. So there is Miss Girly Pop in prison. Girl Boss Challenge failed. There she is in prison. I loved the timing of this because saying the kids are just a sympathy play is a harmful narrative, whether it's true or not. So I don't know if the kids are a sympathy play, but regardless, fuck you for having children when you knew you could go to prison. Fuck you for that. I think that is a terrible thing to do as a mother. It'd be one, like, if you know that you might be looking down the barrel at a prison sentence, that is the most selfish fucking thing you can do to reproduce. Knowing that you are possibly going to go away for up to 20 years and then still creating children who are going to have to grow up without their mother. So whether it was a sympathy play or whether she just was like, I really want to be a mother, so I need to have kids because by the time I get out of prison, I'll be too old. Either way, fucking selfish. So fucking selfish. Regardless, so selfish. Like, so selfish. I hate her for this. So, this was so much fun. That is Elizabeth Holmes from beginning to end. Next week, we will be talking about the Fire Festival. The slides are already done. I finished them today. So I am here every single week, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. This upcoming week, we will be talking about Fire Festival. Like I said, the slides are really good. We look at lots of pictures and videos from the event. And we get into the planning because this one was a lot of like legal stuff with Firefest. We're focusing more on the planning and the day of, and then like the trials, I'm just giving you like the Spark Notes version of. We're not going to get into the legal aspect of it. So let's play our little frickin' trivia game. So here is the directions to join. Let me get you guys this little link for you. Okay, so if you would like to join the trivia game, which one do we want to do? Let's do the carnival because this entire thing was a circus. Perfect. If you want to play the trivia game, go to join.nearpod.com. You can do this on your phone. You can do it in a new tab. I do not want your email address. I'm not going to ask you to pay anything. I'm not going to ask you to sign up for anything. You do not have to make an account. It is just a fun little trivia game. So if you would like to do the trivia game, go to join.nearpod.com and enter the code 7P9SZ. It will ask you for your name. Whatever you put in will come up on the screen. You can make a joke, you can use a funny name, just don't use any slurs because that's lame and not funny. I'll give you a couple minutes to join. You get to pick a little character. We're going to do a trivia game. It asks you some questions. They'll be about what we talked about tonight. The whole thing is multiple choice. But yeah, I'll give people a couple minutes to join. It looks like 55 people are already on there. You can see. See, everybody comes up. You can see their names. Let me put the code back up. I can tell you were a high school teacher. The kids would always try and like put racial slurs to try and get me to say that. Like they would put the N-word but like not spelled that way to try and get me to like say it. I never fell for it. And I was quick with it. I would delete it so fast before they noticed. Because that's the thing is they want the attention of it. So you just have to make it to no one noticing that they're doing it. You have to delete it so fast that they don't get that moment of attention. And then if you know who it was, go up behind them and real softly go, I know that that was you. And I just wanted to tell you that we don't use any offensive language in this class and you can't get away with anything because I will always catch you first. And next time I'm going to tell the principal and your mom. And they'll never do it again. Me cleaning inappropriate post from our MS Teams channel as quick as a ninja, literally. Oh, you missed the code? It's 7P9SZ. And your mom. Anytime a kid would make an inappropriate joke, I'd be like, that's so funny. Let's call your mom and see if she laughs. Or like, let's call your grandma. Let's call your dad. Like or like your coach. Like whoever I knew that they were like, I don't like the mask. Oh wait, they have outfits on? Oh, I see, because it's the carnival. They have the hats on. I say that to my kids when they make annoying noises and hold stuff. What was the website? join.nearpod.com, and the code is SP or 7. I can't read. The code is 7P9SZ. I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds, and then I'm gonna hit start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm hitting start. My phone is being so slow. Coaches were my favorite to threaten. All my kids knew it. Sarah, don't. I forgot I did that. How did Elizabeth and Sonny meet? I'm hungry. Apple. I kind of like the earlier time. I do too. We start at 7 p.m. We used to start at 7:30. It's because my work schedule is different now, so that's a sway. I'm glad someone got the Ashley Madison joke. Thank you. When did Holmes drop out to focus on Theranos full time? Do you get to work from home now? Mostly no. I'm just working less though, because I'm also moving, so I was like, let me just work less so I can move. Dice975, thanks for following. 9/11 for sure. I like to soft joke about 9/11. Never like hard joke about 9/11, but I like to throw it in there as a wrong answer on occasion. Many medical doctors worked on the Theranos board and praised the Edison machine. Is that true or false? If only. That is false. My forehead is itchy. Question 6 of 10. What organization shut down the Theranos labs? This game is hard. I made it hard this week. That's what she said. Moms can be powerful, I don't know. I'm way too high for this mom. What event did Holmes attend while her company was being investigated? You have a couple more questions. It was a Burning Man. I'm doing so bad. It's okay. We all have our days. How many children does Holmes have? Imagine her going to 19 though. Me on my way to prison, but not until I push out 19 coconuts. Yes, I did watch Shiny Happy People. Spooky. Not really. Oh, I did spell J. Michelle Duggar wrong. Shiny Happy People was not really any new information, but it was very disturbing information. How long was Holmes sentenced for? Hello, Watermelon, longtime lurker. Glad you're here. Alright, you have this question and then one more after this. I liked seeing Jill have platform. Yeah, that was good. $11 years. All right, last question. What are we learning next week? Look how cute my phone wallpaper is. It's like money and glitter. The Chrisley family is wild. I really want to do that one, but I'm like intimidated by the amount of information that's there. I finally made an account just for you. Thank you, Queen Bree 222. OMG, why is Twitch so much farther behind? I think because it's like streaming more, it like takes longer to process. Alrighty, in first place we have Baja Blasted, then Dustpan Luann. Been a minute since I've seen you. Theranos Babes, a Theranos parking lot, an untrained husky puppy, an incredibly deep voice parking lot, a Karki parking lot, Sarah, Fox, Sierra Chapel, Tanya Harding, Shoelace, Trash Sunsets, Emma, Sarah Seraph, a Theranos parking lot, the Edison device that gave incorrect results, Dee Dee, Mackenzie, Vicky, and Baltos Poopy. I'm gonna scroll through the rest. A LabCorp parking lot, Elizabeth's Black Turtleneck, Elizabeth but not Holmes, Theranos Queen, a Stanford parking lot dropout, Elizabeth Holmes Husky. Love to see it. Sorry I failed the questions. I smoked before class. Honestly valid. Totally fine. But thank you so much for being here. This is always the highlight of my week. How can we blame this on Camilla Cabello? This is always the highlight of my week. Thank you all for supporting me. What makes it possible for me to be on here is the people that subscribe and Prime donate to get me new equipment will be dope. So if you would like me to have a better computer, throw a Prime subscription my way. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm seeing lots of memes come through. How to get rich quick, wear black turtleneck, do fraud, have a deep voice. Signs Elizabeth Holmes is a vampire, was literally lying to people just so they would send her their blood, wears black all the time, has had her neck covered by a turtleneck, hiding bite marks, not sure if having a weird deep voice is a sign of vampirism, but definitely not human. Sonny Balwani replying to romantic text from his literal girlfriend. I ain't reading all that. I'm happy for you though. We're sorry that happened. Balto's face after he shit all over the corporate office. Us immediately scrambling to make jokes in the chat when the tape holding us together gives out. How do I always learn more when I watch things I already know? Because you have background knowledge. Lizzie getting 9 bill without producing a product. Slay. I'm so excited. I suggested an Elizabeth Holmes stream during the cruises one. Oh my god. Okay. This was so much fun. I'll see you here next week for Fire Festival. Have a great night, everybody. Peace, love, and blessings.